Greece to Persia to Rome to the Islamic Caliphate. There is just so much carnage. Why this little, insignificant people have been so vehemently hated by so many pagan governments, kingdoms, regimes, and empires. In 1939, the Jewish population in Poland was 3.5 million. By the end of the war in 1945, that number had been reduced to 250,000. 150,000 Jews out of the 250,000 who were remaining.
The church has blood on their hands.
3.6 million Jews was reduced to 30,000 over a period of 20. Holocaust was perpetrated by Christians because of Christian.
القرآن هو اللي بيدعونا ان نحن نكرههم وما نحبهمش. أعداء المسلمين بعد إبليس هم اليهود. من الذي قال ذلك؟ الله.
The Jews have suffered, and there's more suffering to come.
This train of Judanos is again revolving.
All the nations of the world want to attack Jerusalem.
Where is merciful God? Where is He?
저는 어제 미국 텍사스 달라스에 있는 이스라엘을 사랑하는 크리스찬들의 기도 모임, 미국 사람들이 모여서 이스라엘을 위해서 기도하는 거죠. 그 모임에서 제가 만든 네 번째 영화 루터의 두 얼굴 상영회를 가졌었습니다.
I'm so thankful for this film and it brings out the truth that people really need to hear and understand that these ideas that the church has had all these years are wrong. Thank you for this film. It was awesome.
I just got finished watching The Two Faces of Luther by Brad TV, and it was phenomenal. It's a must-see. If you want to understand your biblical roots and biblical Christianity, you must see this.
It was a great documentary presentation. It had some very hard truth in it, but every Christian everywhere in the world needs to watch this and internalize what it can mean for their lives. And please watch it and share it with as many churches and friends as you can. It's well worth your time and effort. So I want to thank Brad TV for making this very important documentary. God bless you all.
많은 분들이 오셨고요. 영화를 보시고 모두 감동이 있었다, 큰 터치가 있었다, 몰랐던 것을 알게 됐다, 이렇게 소감을 이야기를 해주셨는데, 그 상영회에 앞서서 찬양 시간이 있었습니다. 그런데 그 찬양을 인도하시는 분이 굉장히 깊은 울림으로 영성 있는 성령의 임재가 가득한 그런 찬양을 인도하는 모습을 보면서 제 마음에 큰 감동이 있었고 터치가 있었습니다. 저분은 어떤 분일까 궁금했고요. 나중에 알고 보니까 그분이 바로 유대인이면서 예수를 믿는 메시아닉 주이셨고 또 찬양 사역자로서 40여 년간 찬양을 해오면서 자그마치 15개의 음반도 발표하신 분이라고 합니다. 바로 조나단 세틀 씨라고 하는데요. 저는 그래서 오늘 그 조나단 세틀 씨를 다시 찾아뵙고 그분에 대한 이야기를 좀 더 구체적으로 듣고 싶어서 이렇게 인터뷰를 요청했습니다. 이렇게 시간 내주셔서 고맙습니다. 조나단 세틀, nice to meet you.
Thank you, sir. Nice to meet you.
어제 영화를 처음부터 끝까지 쭉 보셨는데 물론 뭐 유대인으로서 아는 부분도 많았겠지만 루터의 두 얼굴 어떻게 보셨습니까?
It was an interesting experience for me. I'm Jewish. I was raised Jewish. My parents were Jewish, so my history is in your movie. And so I saw myself and my parents. and my grandparents and their parents. And I felt a variety of emotions. One emotion was anger. I was angry again at the people who don't know what God said in His book. If you call yourself Christian or a believer, you have a responsibility to know what God is speaking about in His book. He wrote it for you and me and us. So when people say God is finished with the Jews and now He has this group of people or another group of people, it says that God changed His mind. But the Bible is very clear. God never changes His mind. So how could we have gotten to the point where in your wonderful movie that exposes the fraudulent belief system that's based on mankind's interpretation of God's word? So, to answer your question, I was grateful that you did it. Very grateful, because more people need to know. I was upset because I saw myself and my family there. And I was, those two emotions gave me strength to walk on hot coals. So that's what I did last night when I sang to the Lord. I was walking on hot coals because of your movie.
독일 옛날 나치가 유대인들을 향해서 그렇게 홀로코스트를 일으키고 많은 핍박과 고통을 줬다라는 거 뭐 알 사람들은 많이 알지만 그 배경에 마르틴 루터와 연결되어 있다라는 사실을 아는 사람들은 사실은 많지 않거든요. 그 부분은 어떻게 보셨습니까?
I got angry with Martin Luther, but then I realized that Martin Luther, like every other despot in the world, any bad man is under the influence. It's a spiritual problem. It's not a physical or intellectual problem. Martin Luther didn't come to his intellectual understanding of who the Jewish people were through his mind, but through the satanic influence of the spirit of Amalek, which started before Martin Luther was even a thought. And it won't stop until Jesus returns. This spirit of Amalek, which translates into what we call anti-Semitism, or anti-Israelism, or anti-Jewish, that spirit, it's not a political problem, it's not an intellectual problem, it's a spiritual problem, starting with Hagar, Sarah, and Abraham. That's how I felt about your movie. And Martin Luther.
그리고 제가 듣기로는 예전에 독일을 방문하셨을 때 그곳에서 또 유대인으로서 많은 마음에 복잡한 생각이 들었었다 이런 얘기를 하셨거든요. 그 얘기도 좀 해주시죠.
So when I moved to Israel in 1990, I began to visit other countries around the world with music. And when I was in Israel, the Lord was very clear. He wanted me to go to Germany, and I didn't want to go. And I argued with the Lord. I said, I don't want to go to Germany. Please don't send me to Germany. Send me to Korea, not Germany. I'm Jewish. I don't want to go to Germany. You're going to Germany. And he was like my father, you know, an officer in the Air Force. I saluted, said, yes, sir, and I went to Germany. And when I got there, it was very difficult, very hard. I saw people in congregations with gray hair, and while I'm singing to the Lord, I'm thinking to myself, while I'm singing, I'm thinking, where were you when my people were dying? I'm looking at these people with bitterness and darkness in my heart. I saw the trees outside. I couldn't believe it. Those trees, beautiful trees, beautiful. Which one held a Jewish child against the Nazis? Which one was there to hide a Jewish child so he wouldn't die? That's all I could see. My host was an ex-SS guard in the Nazi party. And he was a born-again Christian, but when in his youth, he was a Nazi. And here he was in Germany with a American Jewish guy from Israel taking him around Germany. And it was the irony of the Lord. One day I just couldn't do it any longer. You know, after a week in Germany, I woke, it was winter in East Germany. The wall had just come down. I was in East Germany crying out to God. It was very cold. And I said, Lord, I cannot go any longer. You have to send me out of here. And he said, I want you to raise your hands and I want you to look at the four winds, the four directions of the winds. And when you face north, south, east, and west, I want you to lift your hands and I want you to sing Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, listen, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And I did, and I didn't want to, but I did, and I sang and I looked at the four winds and I blessed the city of Leipzig, an East German city that murdered hundreds of thousands of my people. And all of a sudden, when I finished singing the Shema, my heart felt different. I looked at these old Nazis as little boys and girls that God created. I looked at the trees as a brush stroke from the hand of the master. And I said, what is this? And my host, the ex-Nazi, took me to Bergen-Belsen and to Buchenwald, two Jewish extermination camps where they killed the Jewish people. And I went to one and I saw rooms and I saw horrible things and I couldn't breathe and I was sick with anger and angst and upset. I said, I have to get out of here. My host took me out and he said, I have one more place you have to go see. And he took me to the west part of Germany, to Bergen-Belsen, where I saw not a room where they hung people, but where they did experiments on children. I mean, it was a horrible thing. And the spirit in the room was death. And that is where I fell on the floor and wept. And people were walking around me, looking at me, you know, like I'm crazy. And I felt God's voice. I didn't hear it, I felt it. And he said, you know, when you stood and sang Shema Yisrael to me, and you felt so wonderful, and you fell in love with these Nazis and these trees, he said, that was my love for them. He said, and what about when the pain that you're feeling now? That's the pain that I felt from those tormentors. He said, if you're going to come here in Germany and represent me, you are going to love these German people because that's who I am, love. So I experienced and tasted a new fruit. It was called the fruit of forgiveness. And that is what happened to me in Germany.
자, 그럼 이번에는 우리 조나단 세틀 씨의 개인적인 이야기를 좀 질문하도록 하겠습니다. 유대인으로서 쭉 살아오시다가 어느 날 갑자기 이제 예수와를 만나고 메시아닉 주의시가 되셨어요. 어떤 계기로 예수와를 만나게 됐고 또 예수와를 만난 이후에 삶이 어떻게 변화됐는지 그런 얘기를 좀 해주시죠.
In 1976, I was a full-time I've been a full-time musician all my life. Music has been my constant companion forever, since I was 17, and now I'm 70. So it's been with me forever. In 1976, I was living the life of a jazz musician working in nightclubs owned by the Italian mafia from Sicily. They owned all the clubs that I used to work in. And part of the lifestyle of a musician in those days was some Italian person would come and he knew I was Jewish. I was the only Jewish guy in the whole place. Everyone else was Italian and speaking Italian. And they wanted me, you know, to sing in Italian, and I learned it, and they treated me nicely. They gave me a $100 bill, and inside the $100 bill was maybe a couple of grams of cocaine, which I proceeded to put in my nose, and lived that life until my lung collapsed, 1976. I was 29 years old, and I was in the hospital. And this girl walked in. I remember she was very happy. She was very young. She was 19 years old. And she said, "Hi, Jesus told me about you. I'm your nurse, by the way. My name is Sharon." I told her, "I really don't care what your name is. What do you want?" Because I was miserable. I had a tube coming out of my chest. My lung was collapsed. I was in pain. They had given me all kinds of medications. She said, "Jesus told me you're going to be my husband." I said in Spanish to her, "Tú eres una mujer loca. You are a crazy woman." And I told her, "Leave the room. Get out." And 4.5 years later, we were married. So at that point, my wife knew that God had spoken to her about me. Why me? I was a maniac. I was a jazz musician. I was an artist. So, you know, my thinking processes were completely abnormal. So I was not ready for this different, beautiful, sweet girl who was obviously different from most of the women I knew at that moment. So she would come in to visit me when in a club. She was born a Christian, and I saw something in her. I married her. I fell in love with her. She still said, "I'll marry you, but Jesus is going to be in my heart." I said, "I want you to convert to Judaism. I want you to be Jewish. And I don't care where you keep Jesus, as long as you keep him away from me. Keep him away." So she was praying for me. Her mother was praying for me. And I joined a group at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. It was an a cappella ensemble. 8 voices, very close harmony, very listening, and every one of them was a born-again Christian, except me. I was the maniac Jewish jazz musician who joined these Christian believers who were excellent at what they do. You see, sometimes God speaks to us through excellence, or at least through me. I have to see excellence before I'll react, positive or negative. So excellence is a very important thing, and these singers were excellent, really excellent at what they did. And they didn't do drugs, and they didn't fill their nose up with cocaine, and they didn't drink liquor, and they didn't take pills, and they didn't smoke marijuana. They did Bible studies. They were happy. They were completely different than my musician friends. They were more like the girl that I had met in the hospital. They were praying for me, these singers. February 27th, 1983, I had an encounter with eternity. I call it my encounter with eternity because Jesus is forever. And Jewish people, we need to have some signs and wonders before we'll believe things. So February 22nd, I said to the Lord, or I didn't know he was Lord then, but I was challenged. I said, "If you're real, I want to see you tonight with my eyes." And I went to sleep. My wife was asleep. We had 2 children at the time. They were asleep. It was in Orlando, Florida. I was still working at Walt Disney World as a singer. And I woke up 2 o'clock in the morning. I went outside on the veranda. It was cold in Orlando. It was Florida, but it was still cold for me. 50 degrees was cold. And I had a headache. And I recall putting my hand on where the pain was hitting me, was hurting me. I pressed down on the pain, and when I closed my eyes, I saw a face. The face of a man who was dark complected with black hair. He looked very, very Jewish and very Israeli. And he was crying, tears coming out of his eyes. And my face was in those tears. And I looked. My eyes were closed, and I saw my face. I saw my face in the teardrops of this Jewish man that was looking at me and crying for me. And I knew that this was Jesus. I knew it. I started crying, and I knew with all of me that Jesus was God. So my life changed. I was 37. I was already old.
유대인이 이렇게 예수와를 믿게 되면은 가족들이나 주변 친구들, 다른 유대인 친지들 다 우리 조나단 세틀 씨를 이렇게 거부하거나 비난하거나 그러지는 않습니까?
My father had already died. My mother was amazed at the change of my personality. I was used to be very sarcastic and flippant and cruel with words to people. I saw people through other eyes. I saw them and they all looked like me. So if I was going to say something ugly to somebody, I was speaking to myself. That's how I changed my direction, and my mom saw that. She knew me at that time probably as well as my wife knew the inside of me, and she saw that I had changed. And so she changed before she died.
어쨌든 그렇게 40년 전에 예수와를 만난 이후에, 물론 그 전에도 이제 노래를 하는 뮤지션이었지만 예수와를 만난 이후에 그 전에 하던 음악이 어떻게 변화가 왔습니까?
I used to work in bars from 9 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning. People, the strangest people, come out on a Thursday, 4 o'clock in the morning. Who sits? And my position was behind the bar, up on a stage, looking down. So I'm looking down at the people behind the bar, and they're in front of the bar. And I see prostitutes, police, drug people, the worst of the worst. And I used to be able to see, when I looked at them, and believe me, I was as bad as any one of those people. I should either be dead or in jail. But because of the Lord and because of the love He had for me, He kept me away from that. But the direction of my music was to try and please people. Now I realize that that's not why I was purposed to be a vocalist. I'm purposed to be a vocalist, a singer, to sing not for God, but to God. I sing to Jesus so that He can bless. I don't bless. I don't bless anyone. That's not my job. That's His job. My job is to return His gift that He loaned to me. And believe me, it can go like that in an instant. My voice, gone. It's not what keeps me alive. The purpose of my voice is to make Him happy so that He can make everyone happy. That's my job. I'm nothing. He's the one that's doing the blessing.
그러면은 조금 예전에 노래 부르던 목소리하고 지금 언어인팅 찬양의 그 목소리하고 좀 우리가 구별할 수 있도록 한번 불러주실 수 있겠습니까?
Yes, I'm going to sing a prayer, okay? And I'm going to sing the words of the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 4. You know it. It's the Shema. It's the cornerstone of the Jewish people. Jesus said the Shema. Just after the Shema, He said, V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha. And I will love the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Just before. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Hear, listen, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
조나단 세틀 씨께서는 그러면 지금 미국 전국을 다니면서 찬양도 하시고 또 전 세계도 다니시고 많이 바쁘시죠?
Yes, I look at myself as, and I hope this doesn't sound like I'm an egomaniac. This has nothing to do with ego. This has to do with part of my calling to sing the reality of Jesus's Jewish nature to non-Jewish people, so that when a Jewish person finds Jesus, he becomes a completed Jewish person. When a non-Jewish person from the nations finds his Jewish roots, his support system through the roots is Israel and the Jewish people. When a Christian finds that out, he becomes a completed Christian. So now you have completed Jewish, completed Christians, and together one new man in Messiah Jesus.
한국에도 한번 방문하셔야죠.
I am ready when you invite me.
앞으로도 주님이 부르시는 그날까지 끝까지 건강하시고 계속해서 전 세계를 다니면서 예수와를 찬양하는 하나님의 귀한 찬양 사역자로서의 사명을 잘 감당하시는 우리 조나단 세틀 씨가 되기를 바라고요. 나중에 곧 한국에서도 또 뵙고 우리 한국 많은 크리스찬들에게도 우리 조나단 세틀 씨의 찬양을 듣게 되는 그날이 왔으면 좋겠습니다. 그날을 위해서 우리 함께 기도하면서 기다리겠습니다. 오늘 귀한 인터뷰해 주셔서 고맙습니다. Thank you very much.
이스라엘 선교 전문 방송 브래드 TV. 이스라엘을 위해 기도하고 싶으신데 기도 제목을 잘 모르시겠다고요? 그럴 땐 이스라엘 전문 방송 브래드 TV로 들어오시면 됩니다. 언제 어디서나 시청 가능한 브래드 TV. 매번 주소 검색하시느라 힘드셨죠? 브래드 TV 바로가기 아이콘을 만들면 한 번에 들어가 원하시는 방송을 시청하실 수 있습니다. 브래드 TV 바로가기 아이콘 만들기. 삼성, LG 등 안드로이드 버전입니다. 먼저 인터넷 버튼을 눌러주세요. 그리고 브래드tv.co.kr을 입력. 브래드TV 홈페이지로 이동합니다. 홈페이지로 이동한 후 핸드폰 하단의 메뉴 버튼을 눌러주세요. 여기서 홈 화면에 바로가기 추가. 이 버튼만 누르면 끝이에요. 이제 바탕화면에 생긴 브래드TV 아이콘을 누르시면 한 번에 원하시는 방송을 선택 신청하실 수 있습니다. 다음은 아이폰에서 바로가기 아이콘 만드는 방법입니다. 인터넷 버튼을 누르세요. 그리고 브래드tv.co.kr을 입력. 브래드TV 홈페이지로 이동합니다. 이동 후 화면을 움직이면 핸드폰 하단에 메뉴바가 나옵니다. 여기서 가운데 버튼을 클릭하고 바로 보이는 홈 화면에 추가를 눌러주세요. 그리고 추가 버튼만 누르면 끝입니다. 마지막으로 아이패드에서 바로가기 아이콘을 만드는 방법입니다. 역시 인터넷 버튼을 눌러주세요. 그리고 브래드tv.co.kr을 입력, 홈페이지로 이동하면 주소창 옆에 화살표를 클릭, 홈 화면에 추가 버튼을 누르고 추가를 누르면 끝이에요. 이제 바탕화면에 생긴 브래드TV 아이콘을 누르시면 한 번에 원하시는 방송을 선택 신청하실 수 있습니다.